welcome back to Next Nation. I am your host, Sylvia Austin. I am here with my guest for the hour. Super excited about having this brother on the show. We've been talking behind the scenes about getting him on, so I'm super excited to have you here as one of my very first guests. Comedian, artist, actor, writer, producer. Uh,
Hmm.
thank you. So impersonator, super duper. Nobody messes with your impersonations. Welcome to my show, Aries Spears. Good to see you, my brother.
what's what's up, baby? How you doing?
I'm doing well.
I'm
How
I'm trying to shake off last night.
are
Yeah,
you? You was
that's
in
why I
the
had to push it. That's why I
you was
had to
in the
push it back a
streets.
little bit.
Yeah,
No,
okay, I
no, no,
got
no, no, no. I just,
it.
I was up late and doing all kinds of devil's work.
Okay, all right, but you wasn't in them devil streets in the pandemic, right?
No, no,
At
no,
least
no,
not
no,
posting
no.
it for us to see it and judge you.
No, I actually had a COVID test a couple days ago, and I came back negative. So I was celebrating with some vodka.
Feel that for sure. I
Yeah.
feel that. It's good to see you, man. I haven't seen you since the last time you were in New York at in the Sirius XM studios, but it's really good to put some eyes on you and see that you are doing well. We are now in 2021, new year, lots going on. Tell me how you feel
We not official yet. We not official though yet.
for the show, for the purposes of the show. We are official.
Oh, got you. All right, all right.
This will air in January.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna do that again. Okay, I'll edit
Now
that
you
out.
should keep that. Now you ain't gotta edit that out. Mistakes makes perfection.
Okay, all right. So we in 2021. It's a,
Yeah,
it was a hell of a 2020. Uh,
yeah.
tell me about this past year. How are things going for you?
Uh, they listen. Sometimes I say it's all about perspective. Um, things could always be better, but they far from the worst. So, I'm maintaining, I'm still grinding, I'm still striving. And 2020 was just one big STD. So now that we out of that and into this, let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that it only goes up from here.
For sure, for sure. I had my series of challenges and ups and downs in 2020. I'm sure, like everybody else, staying out of the streets, staying away from COVID, trying to keep my family safe. All of that, all of this stuff that you wrestle with as an adult that you don't really think about from a day to day. It was a whole new, it's a whole new world. But the entertainment industry got hit, like so many different industries got hit hard. And
Right.
I think people had to, you talk about perspective, I think people had to kind of like pivot and switch on their heels to figure out ways to continue to support themselves during this damn pandemic. So, comedy, I don't think is any different. It's been a huge shock to our economic system, how we all enjoy art and entertainment. Are you encouraged about what you're seeing for 2021, opportunities, ways to virtually make money? And how did you have to learn to pivot with all of the things that are happening in the world?
Well, I think the biggest thing, obviously, everything had to be done for the most part in terms of like interviews, press, so much of what we're doing right now, on the phone, on your laptop, Zoom, Skype. Um, and I just, like everybody else, I just can't wait for everything to get back to normal, because, financially, it hit everybody's pockets,
Yeah.
from limited capacity at shows to social distancing to having to wear masks, and the less asses that are in the seats, the less you make in terms of merchandise sales. Everything is just cut in half.
Yeah.
Um, I'm like everybody else. I'm just a certain sense of urgency to just get back to normalcy, because this just isn't fun doing this
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
It's weird having to be doing stand up, and comedy is such an intimate exercise. It's a connection between you and the audience, and it's hard to connect with people when they're wearing face condoms. You know what I mean? You know, it don't, you know, like
Oh,
it's
just it off.
safe, but
It throws it off. It for sure.
it's like, you know, sex is safer with a rubber, but
It ain't quite as fun. I get it.
yeah, you know what I
I get
mean?
it. No, no, but your art form, you're right, is all about, being intimate with your viewing public, being
Right,
able to kind of feel the audience, feel their reaction or feel their response to, your work. And it is, I would imagine that it is super difficult. I would imagine it's majorly depressing, not
right,
being able to do that. Because I know for so many comedians, I have a few friends who are comedians and who are in the business, and for them, part of what feeds their spirit is them being amongst the people, getting that laugh, that direct reaction, and so not being able to get a hold of that. I think it takes some joy out of your life. So I would imagine it's a very
yeah.
tough time. Yeah, it's a very tough time. Um,
And you know, when people's, and I said this before, when people's laughs are as infectious as yours, uh, that feels good, man. You know what I mean?
well, you funny as hell. I don't laugh at everybody, but you are funny as hell.
Well, when you laugh, it's orgasmic, and every man's ego loves a good scream. So
Yeah, I mean, you send me there. I have to admit, you are one of my favorites.
thank you.
Been watching your career. We're about the same age. I've been watching your career, since I was young. I remember the first time I saw you on Def Comedy Jam, which I think is everybody. I mean, in our generation, I think it's everybody's
Right.
favorite, right? And I just remember seeing you and thinking, God, he is really, really young to be that much in command of his talent. I remember that still to this day. So tell
Oh,
me
thank you.
when you knew, because you must have known in the womb, that you were talented, but when did you really start making moves in terms of comedy?
Well, you know, when I was really, really young, and like literally a kid, I knew I wanted to be famous, but I never really knew how, in what form. So I thought at first I thought I was going to be the next heavyweight champ, but you got to discipline and eat the right things and work out, and that wasn't in my gene pool. My mother's from Mississippi, my father's from Tennessee. Fat and grease was relevant in our house, and I know we
My
were the
dad
only.
was Tennessee too.
Oh, okay, yeah. You know, we were the only family in my neighborhood to drink fried milk. Like, so, you know, we was deep with it. You know, like, you need to lose weight when you need to catch your breath from breathing. So it just wasn't in us to do that. And then I thought I was going to be a rapper, but that really is a skill that I just I never really had. So, but I had always been funny. I'd always had the ability to mimic what I saw on TV. And then
It's crazy.
growing up, growing up watching Eddie Murphy on Saturday Night Live in the '80s, that solidified it for me. He
Yeah.
just was, I would watch him every Saturday with my father. That was like appointment television for us, and that's how he and I kind of bonded. And Eddie he just blew me away, and I just said that's what I want to do.
How many do you have brothers and sisters, or is it just you?
Yeah. No, I got two sisters, two brothers.
Two sisters, two brothers, and you fall in where in the
Yeah,
middle?
I'm the youngest.
You the
Yeah,
baby.
I'm the youngest.
So you
Yeah, but see,
naturally are
like
always trying to get the attention naturally because
yeah.
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes makes sense. So, but did your family think you was funny? Because normally, you test that out first on your family. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, because they was funny. My father was really the comedian, and my mother could be funny, but she was more the serious disciplinarian. But
yeah,
she had my mother's like you, same thing, infectious laugh. When she laughed, you felt it in the room.
yeah.
Yeah.
Your story feels like home. You said your mom was from Mississippi, dad was from Tennessee, Nashville,
Yeah. I want to say Chattanooga.
Chattanooga. Okay, my, my
Yeah.
my dad was from Nashville. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Manhattan, west side of New York.
Yeah.
And then I spent most of my childhood in Manhattan and then eventually moved to Jersey.
Your comedy though, were you doing that in school? You know, I think about all of the funny guys. Like I went to high school with, I'm not sure if you're familiar with a comedian by the name of Rashawn Reese. Um, but I remember long before he started doing comedy, he would have us in the lunchroom just like rolling. You know, the lunchroom was his spot.
Mm,
He wasn't
right.
he wasn't really in the school, was always out in the hallways, but the lunchroom was his spot. It was his time to shine. And that was kind of like where you saw the magic come alive. Were you doing that during school, you know, making people laugh, staying out of trouble by, you know, you utilizing your comedy and your impersonations? Because these
Hmm.
impersonations, man, it's like they just come out of you. They just like they just ooze out of your spirit for sure.
Yeah. I never was in the school, and I at an early age knew that, and let's be realistic, unless you are going to do something specific with your life, like if you're going to be a scientist, then science is important for you. If you're going to do, you know, unless you're going to be a contestant on Jeopardy, why do I need to know about 18th century English? You know what I mean? The only thing you need to learn in school is how to read, write, and the basics. All that other shit is a waste of time.
Yeah,
So I
listen,
knew that.
I still haven't found a reason for why I took trigonometry, but I hear you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So yeah, for me it was anywhere, the cafeteria, during sporting events, in the bleachers, you know, in the locker room, in between games. You know, it was everywhere I could find it. Everywhere was my stage.
You made it on to Def Comedy Jam. Did that immediately catapult you into working as a legitimate comic, or was there still struggle? Or was it still struggle?
Um, yeah. No, I mean, it put my name out there, and it put my face out there. Um, and then once, of course, I did Showtime at the Apollo the next year at 17. Between those two things, that catapulted me enough to find a manager and an agent, which then moved me to LA. And then from there, I kind of worked backwards. You know, most people do stand up and grind out on the road to go from being a feature to a headliner to hopefully eventually getting a TV show or a movie career. When I got to LA, things took off for me rather fast, and I found myself in holding television deals for 5 years, making tons of money with no results. And then eventually I got on Mad TV. And because of that consistent notoriety on television every week, I automatically became a headliner.
Yeah.
And then I started doing the road. So for most comics, traditionally, it's the road, then a show. For me, it was a show and then the road. And
Yeah.
then and then the two just went hand in hand from there.
You talked about the Apollo. You know, I think I'm a Jersey girl, born and raised in Newark. I could never go to the Apollo, but I watched every week. And
Right.
that beast was something serious, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
if you weren't from New York, if you weren't from Harlem, you know what I mean? That was a place that most people, most comics would probably be afraid to enter because you know if you don't come with the funny immediately, you getting picked and pulled apart. Um,
Well, Apollo, and you know, New York is a tough period, but Apollo
mhm.
is where adults don't give a shit about children's dreams. So, like you just said, you could be 7. If you don't bring it in a minute, they crush your dreams.
Your ass is out of there.
Yeah. It don't matter if you're 9. Kick this little 9-year-old nigga out of here. Like it's
They don't even
ridiculous.
care. Super.
Child services should shut Apollo down.
Oh, crazy. But you killed Apollo?
I killed it. I really killed it. And what was crazy about it, and this is not me trying to have a moment of vanity, but what was crazy was when I first came out. First of all, I didn't do the competition where, you know, the Sandman. I came out as a guest
Yeah.
because of Def Jam. Because again, I did Def Jam the year before. And when I first came out, I think within a 30 seconds to a minute, as I'm talking into the mic, there was a problem. So they had to stop my set, reintroduce me, and start over. But I had enough savvy to know, don't come back out and do the same joke again, because now the element of surprise has been blown. So you got
Right.
to completely come out different. and I ended up crushing that. So much so that I remember one grown ass woman. I think I was 18. No, I was still 17, and I got my first piece of ass from a 21-year-old that was at the show that night.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I took the train. I took the train all the way from Manhattan back
So it
up
was
to
worth
Harlem.
it for many reasons. It was worth
Oh yeah.
it was worth it for many reasons.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you flipped over to LA. LA is a whole nother animal though. When you went out there without family, you went on your own.
Well, yeah. I had an aunt, my aunt Joanne, who lived in South Central. So I came and stayed with her for a hot minute. But it wasn't too long because, again, things happened for me rather quickly. At that time, I signed, my manager was Norm Nixon, Debbie Allen's husband. So he saw my Def Jam.
Can I tell you that's my favorite couple in entertainment?
Oh, yeah, they cool as hell. Yeah, so Norm flew me out, and I stayed with my aunt, and between him and her going back and forth, like I said, things just took off for me rather quickly, and the rest is history.
That makes sense because you were on A Different World, which is my favorite damn show in life, and you were on that show. That makes sense. Norm had a hand in that. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Listen, I followed your career, and I think what's so dope is that you got such a meteoric rise and a meteoric start. So soon. But that can also be a little risky. You start making too much money too soon. You know what I'm saying? It can kind of mess your head up.
The thing is, and I think really what people respect about me and know about me, those that know, is longevity is hard to sustain in this business.
For sure.
Especially when you start so young. I don't know if you remember a young comedian who literally started earlier than me. He was literally a kid. You remember comedian JJ?
Yeah, I remember JJ.
Little JJ?
Yeah.
Where is he now?
I don't know. That's the kid that was in Queen Latifah's movie that was riding.
Yeah, with the braids.
Yep.
And I'm saying that to say, listen, I haven't been on a weekly television show since Mad TV. And it's been over a decade. I haven't been in a major movie since Jerry Maguire, and that was 21 years ago. And yet I'm still standing. And there's a lot of people who know that who know my name. They respect my name. Of course, you got the haters and shit, but that just comes with the territory. But the bottom line is, I'm still here. I still can go out on the road and work. And I think that's partly due because between my body of work, between my 8 years on Mad TV, my Shaq's All-Star Comedy Jam, my two specials, my interviews with Vlad TV and other places, I think people see authenticity. You know what I mean? They hear me speak. They know my stance on certain things. And listen, I've said things and done things, and some of my beliefs have been detrimental to me in terms of progress. But at the same time, it's who I am. And I don't care if I move, 2 miles an hour. I've been around this long. It's been 30 years, and I still believe before the final chapter is written, I'm gonna be where I ultimately want to be. I remember that quote Martin Luther King had where he said, "What was it? If you can't crawl, if you can't run, walk. If you can't run, crawl." Or something like, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But the bottom line is keep moving. So even if I'm at a baby's crawl, I believed in terms of what people see in me, in terms of authenticity, in terms of talent, in terms of how I move, they sticking with me. You know what I mean? And that means something to people. So as long as the people stick with me, where they have this far, I think I'll be all right. I'll be all right. Because again, when you look at JJ, and I haven't seen him do stand-up recently, but he was always a funny kid. Like he was hilarious for a kid, which is to say, I believe he would be a funny adult especially if you keep at it. But why you don't see him anymore or hear from him, and he's all but vanished, I don't know.
You
So
know,
staying power means something.
it does mean a lot. And I think having the crowd behind you, I think there are a lot of comedians who get involved into this bit who get into this business when they go TV, they never really want to go back to the touring and going over the road. And I think over the road is where you really, really find out whether or not your material is developing, whether or not it's growing, whether or not you're still funny, because when you're doing scripted writing for TV, it's completely different than when you're standing up in front of a room full of people. You got to kind of understand audiences. You understood that from a very young age. I think you respect the art of comedy in a way that some comedians, yeah, I don't know that they necessarily do their homework. You know what I mean? And when you had that
Well,
meeting
you
with
know,
God too soon, sometimes, you never really get to see whether or not your true talent is there because the TV and the fame and it took over before you really kind of paid your dues in the art form. I think you've paid your fair share of dues. And I also think that the change in this business is the entertainment business is rough. It's rough. The comedy business is even rougher. One of the things that I say about comedians, I had this conversation with my friend Ali, who's a comedian out of Houston, who you may know. We talked about the health of comedians, how the up and down, the inconsistency of work, the fighting, constantly fighting, to be heard, to get the proper pay, how that takes how that takes effect on your health, right? And so we see comedians dying long before they should, checking out of here, not having great health care, not having great people in their corner, getting taken advantage of by a very, very, very sharkish industry. That you are still standing does, it says a lot. It does. It says,
well, well, listen, you're right. I wouldn't wish this business on nobody because I don't know too many people that get into this business unless you are absolutely, you know, on a Kevin Hart level or a Mike Epps level. I don't know too many people that make it through this business intact, spiritually and mentally, and sober, because this is hell. And sometimes, and I'm not, and obviously you shouldn't do it. And sometimes I'm a victim of it myself. But that's why some people stay in the bottle. That's why some people, have vices, because they try to relieve that stress. They trying to relieve that pain. To what you said earlier, stand up is the gym. The road is the
yeah,
gym,
yeah,
and everybody can't. That gym work is hard. You know, Chris Rock is a gym rat. Dave Chappelle is a gym rat.
right,
And a lot of times when some of these dudes get on TV shows, it's easier to be on a TV show because those aren't your words. Somebody wrote those words.
yeah,
It's less work in that sense. You don't have to come up with the funny. The funny is already on the paper, written by somebody else. And then when you get that kind of money, that TV money consistently versus the grind of the road, and that money might not be as good as that TV money, then now you go, well, why am I doing that when I'm on Easy Street? So once a lot of dudes make it and they get on Easy Street, they hang up them gloves and say, fuck that gym work. It's too hard. But
I
like
hear
I said, guys like Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle, they're purists in terms of the art form. So they stay in the gym, which is why they're so incredible comedically.
I was going to ask you about that because I think those are two of my top two comedians as well, right? And I think there's been a lot of inside chatter and public chatter. Monique has weighed in on why she hasn't been paid at the level for her talent that Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle have, and in conversation on radio in media, I also asked the question because I know that Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle, before they got those huge Netflix deals, they were on the road, over the road for a year, and a lot of comics don't want to do that. but in order to bench you and sit down for a year, in order to stop my shine of me going around the country performing and making money all around the country, you got to come with some heavy money because I've been on that road. I can prove that this is what I'm worth. The comedy game is changing, and you talk about being purist, and I truly respect that. But most people are now looking for the streaming. They're now looking for the clicks. They're now looking for the big Netflix deals and the Amazon deals to go and do one or two shows or do roll out three shows in a year and then sit down, right? Because the road is so stressful. What do you think about that? Are you adapting, with the art form, or are you against it? Do you think companies like Netflix and Amazon, do you think they change the game or they corrupt it?
No, I think what they've done for the game is just allow for more opportunities, for more places to go. Once upon a time ago, before Netflix and before Amazon and Hulu and some of these streaming platforms, I mean, where did you go? You had HBO, you had maybe Showtime, you had Comedy Central. You only had a handful of places to go, but now this opens up the door for more opportunity. Now, I believe you can also oversaturate the market. I mean, when you got too much, it dilutes the product. But at the end of the day, if you build it, they'll come. So if you're that strong of a talent, people will find you. So it just makes it a lot harder to find you when you're in an ocean full of 1,000 other fish. But if you're really good at what you do and you're special, like the saying goes, the cream rises to the top.
Yeah, yeah. What are your thoughts on the commentary that Dave Chappelle made? You seem to really respect his talent. He
Well,
made
him and Patrice O'Neill, God rest his soul, my
Yeah,
two favorite comedians.
Patrice was a good dude. He was a
Patrice was a beast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was. He was. And he was one of the people that I actually was thinking about when I talked about how behind the scenes, comics are going through so much shit, and you really don't know. They don't get the health care, they don't get the attention that they need, or they don't take care of the self care that they need. It was a shame to lose Patrice really in his prime. Uh,
It was, but I think what was more of a shame was, and listen, anybody that if you've heard any of the Patrice stories, if you knew of him from Opie and Anthony and certain outlets and certain things that other comedians said, Patrice was a little self-destructive, in the sense that he got in his own way in terms of how he interacted with people in the industry. But at the same time, that's why I said I wouldn't wish this industry on nobody, because this shit is so political. It's so racial. There's so much bullshit involved in this game. And Patrice was the kind of dude who would point out the bullshit. He wasn't one for the games. And he would let people know that they were full of shit and he could see through you. And in this business, you gotta do a lot of jazz hands.
a lot
You
of
know what I
damn.
mean?
Yeah,
A lot of soft shoe.
yeah,
And he wasn't that dude, and neither am I.
yeah.
And and
I was
and
gonna say
and
that.
sometimes,
I was
yeah,
gonna.
sometimes, that's why I said I'm a little detrimental to myself, because I say things that oftentimes I go, should have said that, or maybe say that differently. Um, so
Yeah, but
I'm working on it.
would you be authentic though? So I think I hear you, and I struggle with that too. Because when you're in the media game, if you want to continue to rise, right? If you want to continue to get the opportunities, there's a certain go along that you got to get, right? And the reason why I decided to do podcast over trying to remain in on a brand or for a network, right, was that I really got tired of the politics. I really,
Right,
I really got tired of the I'm really not the kiss ass. I'm really not gonna tell you that you're great when you're running shoddy fucking business. When you're disrespecting what I bring to the table. I'm not gonna just go along just to go along. And
right.
I think that does it prevents you probably from being seen to the whole world, or probably prevents you from getting all of the opportunities that you could get. But I sleep well at night. You know, I do. I feel authentic in my spirit. I feel like, you know, I'm not out here living a sham. And I think so many entertainers feel like they've sold their soul to the devil for the money, and for the opportunity, and it doesn't bring them peace and comfort at night. You know what I mean? And I think we all can be self-destructive. We've all got that thing that, if you know, if we allow that animal, for me, drugs ain't it. You know, that ain't my thing. But there's something else, you know, that could allow me to be very self-destructive. I ain't about to tell you what it is, but
Hmm.
I have been known to also self-destruct. I think humans are capable of self-destructing very easily, right? And I know what you're getting at. I know you've said some things that could be considered controversial in the past about religion and how you feel about, you know, how black people move in inside of the business. But I think you were talking about your experience. I honestly, I respect your questioning of God, and I think God, if God is real, God can handle that. You know, I also respect your commentary about black folks not sticking together or not working together. But I will say that this industry, and all industries, I think what winds up happening is that this industry is so beastful that it makes us think that only one of us can come through at a time. And when there's more than just one, we start to kind of claw at each other. You know, I hate to put it all on us. It can sometimes feel like it's us, but ultimately what it is that we're all fighting for that one shot, those one or two slots, and we will harm each other. I'm not with that, but some of us will harm each other to get that those ones or two slots. And so I've seen your past commentary where I think you might be judging yourself on commentary that you've made, but I respect and kind of agree with a lot of your critique. I do.
I just I can't for the life of me. Like I often think that so many of our people possess the inability to see past what should be obvious. And I think that I don't want to get too deep in it, but okay,
I love
I,
deep.
we no no, but we I think that, you know, again, because of because of slavery, we have just been so mentally conditioned
For sure.
to behave a certain way, to see things a certain way. And there's a reason why they say there's power in numbers. We're stronger together than we are as a single force. And I just don't understand why we can't understand it. If we just band together and do this the right way, we don't need them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we can do this. Like, imagine if everybody's mindset was like Tyler Perry.
Yes.
And we should have 15, 20 Tyler Perrys. We
Right.
should have our we should have studios like they have Sony, Warner Brothers, Paramount, uh uh you know, I could go on and on, Universal. Okay, Tyler Perry's got Tyler Perry's thing. We should have our own, like a bunch of those.
Yeah.
And we could get there if we would just stop the slave mentality
Yeah.
and come together and support one another. But again, we don't do that. And we've been conditioned not to do that. I look at all these comedians, Bill Bellamy, uh, uh, Kevin Hart, Mike Epps, Eddie Griffin, DL Hewley, and some of them, like DL, do a better job than others. But it's like, look, if I post something, we should have a system set up where it's like, yo, every time one of us posts something, other comics repost it, and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do, send it to me. You do a skit, you do a clip, you got a special. I'll put it on my social media so other people can see it. And if we all did that constantly,
Yeah.
can you imagine where we could be? But we don't do that. We
Yeah.
simply don't do that. And
Yeah.
it's just it's insane.
I think though, I think there's a change. I think I feel something. You know, I could be wrong, and I think we've had moments before. You know, they didn't become movements. Joe Madison, one of my favorite radio personalities, talks about the difference between a
Well,
moment.
I don't mean to cut you off, but let me just say, I know Tiffany Haddish. That's my girl.
Yeah.
You know, before she blew up, she would come to my house and we'd shoot sketches and stuff like that. I should be able to pick up the phone and go, "Hey, Tiff, I need you to repost something that I did. And I can pick up the phone and she'll answer it, but then it becomes, well, let me run it through my people. Let me see it. Let me run it through the system. And listen, I partly get it. You know, you're at a level now where you got to watch how you move and you don't want to do something to be detrimental to what you got going on. But at the same time, there's power in where you're at. You're not just Tiffany Haddish, the girl who, you know, used to live out of her car doing stand-up where she can to make some money to feed herself. You're a star now. And with star power comes power. That's why they say star power. So you can call some shots. So call the shots.
Don't you think though that's what she did with They Ready or on Netflix? But I feel what you're saying. And my point was, right before you said that, was that there's points where we have moments that could have become movements, but we weren't willing to make the sacrifice. That's what Joe Madison talks about. He talks about that the difference between a moment and a movement is the sacrifice, right? In order for us to get to a movement where we're multiplying the efforts of a Tyler Perry, right? There's going to be some sacrifice. There's going to be some, nah, I'm not taking this job. I'm not doing that. I saw that very recently with, I cannot think of this kid's name. My son watches him. He was one of the stars on Nick Cannon's Wildin' Out, and he was offered a deal to continue.
DC Young Fly, yeah.
Young Fly. He said he was offered a deal to continue Wildin' Out, and he said what Nick did for him and the opportunities and the doors that he opened for him, he wasn't willing to cross Nick to continue that show, to be the host, to make Viacom some more money. And I respected that. A lot of people said, yo, that's a fool's move. They would have given you millions of dollars. You could have brought other people in and through the system, the pipeline to showcase talent, new talent. But I did respect his decision not to take the offer. But I do see that the system is designed to divide and conquer. That's what they want. They want for one of us to make a mistake, tear our ass, throw us to the wolves, and then bring somebody else in, almost to replace us. And you'll behave a little bit better than Nick did. That's what they want.
Right.
And I think the mental breakdown, what winds up happening is we start tearing apart each other instead of.
But again, if we had our own Viacom, do you see where we go with that now?
Yeah.
Because if we had our own Viacom and our own Universal and our own Warner Brothers and our own Sony, then, now the game is different. Now we don't have to go, can you feed me? Now we're feeding. We're doing the feeding. I'm not asking you to feed me. I can feed myself. Am I my brother's keeper? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it becomes that. But we don't have that. So we have to almost hat in hand go, can you feed me? Please. I got to watch how I move. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Jazz hands. We got to do that shit.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, I wish we didn't.
You wish we didn't. It's frustrating, for sure. It's frustrating. And I could see a level of frustration. I asked you a question about Dave Chappelle, and I wanna come back to the 16-minute piece that he did very recently. But I gotta take a quick break. Let's stop right here for a second. Let me take this quick break. We'll be right back with my guest, Aries Spears, on Next Nation. Welcome back to Next Nation. We are here for the close of the show here with my guest, Aries Spears. I thought I was going to get you to be funny, but we having a real deep conversation. I'm gonna have to get some laughs out of you before.
You gave me a few orgasmic yells.
You are funny as hell. I ain't even about to lie. You are crazy as hell. But before we went to break, we were talking about a lot. And listen, I really appreciate your perspective because I think, I really do. I think you are one of the main players in the game, and I think your voice is necessary. I would not caution, but I would ask of you: do you do these things? Do you talk this publicly on your own social media? Do you have these conversations, without being prompted? Because I think a lot of people think this way and they don't know not necessarily what to do. or how to do it, right? And I think if we could even just start the conversations or start the forums for the conversations, a lot of good could come out of it. A lot of good could come out of it. There were so many backdoor meetings that happened during the civil rights movement. It happened because of conversation. It happened because people were willing to put themselves out there and say, listen, this is what we need to do. I'm not a part of your group, but maybe we all need to get down together and move this thing forward. Before we went to break though, and I've been trying to ask you this question for 15 minutes. Dave Chappelle last month came out talking about the Chappelle show, and the re-airing of the show was being re-aired on HBO Max and Netflix, and he said it made him feel bad in his spirit. Now, I might be one of the only people in the world who did not weekly watch the Dave Chappelle show. I didn't watch the show. Um, and I will tell you why if you ask. But um,
Bye.
it wasn't that funny to me. Some
Now
of it,
let me stop you. Let me stop you. And this is why, you know, they say, you know, everything is subjective. So you have the right to feel that way. Now I'm gonna piggyback on what you just said, not in terms of the Chappelle show. I didn't watch it that much either, not because I didn't think it was funny, because I thought it was funny. I just don't watch TV the way I used to. But I'm about to say something that I know is blasphemous within the Black community. I never thought Martin was funny, that funny. I never thought.
this is
Wait.
this is why I know I love you. I didn't watch the show. I'm not into slapstick like that. It's
Well,
not
I won't even. I listen, and
it. Martin is
let me
funny,
say this.
but not
Okay, hold on. All
no,
right, and I say this respectfully. I think Martin Lawrence is hilarious
me
to
too.
me in film. He
Me-
makes me laugh when he's in the movies. His
And he was the
stand up
best
to
host of
me,
He was the best host of Def Jam
yes.
for
His
sure.
stand up to me is okay. It's hit and miss. His show to me, I thought so many times was so over the top and so forced. Him playing his mother, doing backflips, biting the church pew and biting off a piece of the wood, and them faces he would make, and all that. I thought it was so silly, and I thought it was so over the top and so forced. And again, I know that's blasphemous
It
because the Martin show, and you tell Black people in that era of the 90s, that was one of the most powerful, popular niggas love Martin. It just didn't do it for me. It did not do it for me.
Aries, if we were near each other, I would kiss you on your cheek.
And I would want you to, because them lips.
Listen, can I tell you? I never got into it. Never. Besides the fact that when the show was at its peak, I was in college and I had other shit going on. But it wasn't funny to me. I'm gonna tell you the episode that really did it for me when I was like, yeah, no, I'm done here. I can't do this shit
Hold
anymore.
on, before you say that,
Maybe
let me
you
tell
might
you what,
not. You
let me
might
tell you
not.
what, no. Let me tell you what did it for me. Where I just went, I can't with this. Whenever they went on vacation, and the fucking animal, the stuffed animal that's supposed to be this vicious raccoon, and
No.
it's attacking him, and he's and then it would jump on Pam, and she would fight it, and they would all beat it up. I just watched that and I went, this is so silly.
So I didn't see that episode, but I'm gonna tell you the episode where I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. Somebody was pregnant and they gave birth in the house and the baby shot across the room. Did you see that episode?
Right. Yeah.
And he caught the baby like a football. And I was like,
Right.
this is some bullshit. I'm done here.
Right. Right.
I'm like, no,
Right.
thank you.
Right.
I'm good. I'm good on
Right.
that.
Right.
Was my moment where I kind of was like, yeah, I'm done. But I'm gonna tell you, this is what I think happens with Black shows. And I've seen it happen more than once. Damon Wayans' show, the family show that he had, I can't remember the name.
Wife and kids.
Incredible. First season, second season. Third season, they start making Junior act like a fucking idiot. And this is what really bothers me, is when they start making young Black men act stupid in order to be funny, in order to get a laugh. The Black
White folks have always done this to niggas. They've always done this to niggas. There's no goddamn, there's not a surprise. They sit in the room, go, how do we make these niggas tap dance? They love when niggas tap dance. All that yelling at them, oh, look at the nigga, oh, nigga with the eyes bugging. And they love it. Them white folks love to see them niggas eyes bugging. That loud, mammy, loud nigga eyes bugging shit. They love it. God damn it, they love it. That was the perfect opportunity to do some Paul Mooney. Yeah.
Paul Mooney has entered the damn room. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, it's like, look, the buffoonery. They love the buffoonery.
They love it. But that's what happens to our scripted shows. Like, we will have great family shows, and then they become fucking unbelievable. It's like, I can't believe this shit anymore.
This is why, and I say in my stand-up, this is why Bill Cosby was so important to us. Right. Because prior to the Cosby Show, you know, we had good times. And that's not to say, look, that was realistic. There were Black people who lived in the ghettos and in the projects, but that was the only kind of imagery that was shown to white America. I should throw in the Jeffersons too. But Cosby was really the first show to really show a Black family structure that was the other side. Yes, we know good times exist, but so does this. Yeah. And it ran for its entire course without ever the buffoonery. Yes. It was classy. It was funny. It was powerful. It was poignant with no buffoonery. Yeah.
Yeah. No, seriously. And then that spinoff to A Different World, I'm gonna tell you,
that too.
That's the reason why I went to college. My mother thinks it's because, they kept telling me to go to college. No, I went to college for that experience. Different World was my favorite show ever. Like Cosby first, but then A Different World came out, and it was like I could see myself on screen. And this is why I said to you that Debbie Allen to me is life, because she did that for me across my childhood. She did it for me with Fame. I was a dancer. So seeing them dance did something for me. It made me feel like I was somebody on the screen. A Different World. When she picked up that show and became the director of that show, she turned it around. And that show was really giving poignant examples and topics every single week that really spoke to the relevance that was happening in so many of our households.
Me and Godfrey talked about that yesterday. We literally talked about that yesterday. And then it was funny. Somebody shared a post with me, and it was a clip of me on Different World when I was on there, and I reposted it yesterday and was like, oh my God, this was so back, blah blah blah. Been in the game so long, but yeah, me and Godfrey was talking about that yesterday.
It was ahead of its time. It really was. It was ahead of its time.
Right. You had never seen anything like that.
No.
Right.
And I love what I can't think of her name right now. The young lady who's on from Blackish, who now is on Grownish. Come on, my mind is escaping me.
She was on Different World?
No. The young girl from Blackish, the daughter from Blackish, now got her own show, Grownish. I can't think of her name. It's gonna come to me. But what she's doing is essentially Yara Shahidi. Yara Shahidi is doing on Grownish what we saw 20 years ago on A Different World, right? And she's doing it for her generation. And it's so super important. I'm sure 10, 15 years from now, her generation will be talking about the relevance, the importance of seeing, the conversations that she's having on Grownish for her generation, for her time. But each generation needs something like that. And unfortunately, we keep getting, we'll have important shows that kind of just veer off the course into random bullshit. Like you said, you brought Paul Mooney into it. They love it when we start acting like that. And that shit fucks with me bad. It really does. I can see it. And I wonder why so many of us think it's entertainment. So that it bothered you too. We have so much, and we've never.
Let me tell you something. Have you ever noticed, especially in movies, but they do it in TV too, but especially in movies, whenever a white character needs to feel threatened or be put in a place, it's always some fat Black honey child woman, or it's some big, strong, intimidating Black man, because, ain't nothing scarier than a big, strong nigga. or fat, black, sassy, let me tell you, black woman to shake a white person up. When the irony in that and the hypocrisy in that is if your goal in that moment is to instill fear, who has been the most intimidating force on the planet to people, to us?
Yeah.
But somehow, stereotypically, in the movies, when you need to shake a white person down, you better shut up. You see this big nigga? You see this big, sassy, fat black woman about to put this white man in his place, about to put this white lady in her place? You know, they love that shit.
They do. They do. They do. And that brings up another point. You still have not answered my question about Dave Chappelle. I don't even
Oh,
think.
okay. What was the question? What was the question?
No, I got another point though, because you brought something else up. Monique's role in her own show, chasing after that black man, the Parker show, chasing after the professor, for all those seasons. I have found that, and I'm a woman of a certain girth, so I can definitely talk about this. I think that women, when you are a big woman, when you are a voluptuous woman, a black woman specifically, they are constantly turning us into caricatures. Like it's not possible to see a black man really love us on a TV show or on a scripted TV. We always have to be the girlfriend, the loud ass girlfriend who is telling the skinny girls what she not going to do, and I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. Or we are always dragging some half-ass man, in a headlock home to be with us. And I hate that narrative. I really hate that narrative. I hate the narrative so much that it was partly why I waited. I wanted to wait until I started to lose weight before I started to do this show. And then I thought about it and I was like, you know what? There has to be someone who's willing to go first and say, you know what? We've got to show that black women of all size, huge shapes, ass girth are relevant in ways. We deserve love. We deserve to have complex characters in film and in TV. We deserve to have complex conversations about how our life, folds out. And it's unfortunate that so many, even black directors, they don't put black women in shows and movies where they are not constantly looking like buffoons. And I can even give that critique of Tyler Perry. I want to see black women of all hues, of all shapes, of all sizes, with complex characters, with complex relationships, being loved by their man or their woman. But stop making a fool out of us for comedy or for TV's sake. Like that shit is corny. It's corny.
When you mentioned what DC Young Fly did, and again, not many people would pull those kinds of moves, whether it be out of fear, whether it be out of they want that almighty dollar. But that's why the ones that do it, you really gotta tip your hat to them. I remember when Denzel, that movie he did with Julia Roberts, The Pelican Brief.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but they had a romance scene in that movie, and he was supposed to kiss her. He had them take that out of the movie, and he refused to kiss her. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, he refused to kiss her because he said, I am where I am because of my black female fan base. And the moment they see me kiss this white woman, I'm gonna turn a lot of black women off. And he stood up. And I don't know if you really noticed this too. In a lot of Denzel's movies, his wife is always damn near dark skinned. And to make the point, not saying that there's anything wrong with light-skinned black women, but we know that light-skinned black women have always been portrayed, the narrative, as being better than dark-skinned black women.
Yeah.
So for him, right? So for him to go, not only will I not kiss this white woman because it'll turn off my black female fan base, but a lot of times my wife needs to be dark so that I can make the point that dark-skinned women are just as fine and just as beautiful. And him being the most prominent, sexiest black man in the game, for him to take that stance, to let other dark-skinned women know, for lack of better words, as good looking and as fine and as sexy as I am, I'm going to give myself to the women that are just as deserving. You know what I'm saying? The dark skinned women. And those kind of powerful statements are needed. That's important. So, to your point, yeah, those moves have to be made to change those narratives. But the problem is there's the people who are willing to make those moves are so far few and in between, that we don't see it as often as we should.
Yeah.
So, that's why it's like, and I don't want to get off on a tangent about Obama because I fight this war every day with Black people online about, what did Obama do for us? And so many times we shit on cultural symbolism. And I'm going, for all the negative stereotypes that have existed about Black men being these dick slinging savages who don't know how to be faithful and don't know how to commit to our women, and we don't have strong family structure. And here you are, you have the Obamas, no controversies, no cheating, no doing any shit that Trump did with a porn star, faithful to his wife, beautiful, strong Black family structure. Now, again, I could go on and on and on about actual facts
About policy.
that Obama did for Black people.
Yeah, about policy.
But but even if we just went with that,
yep.
That's important.
That's
huge.
For sure.
The first and only Black president of the United States of America. No controversies. Yeah. Strong Black family structure. Loyal and loving to his woman. Could you imagine if he wasn't that? What they would have been dying to say? We told you. See? Told you them niggas can't be faithful. Black men ain't no faithful man. That's huge. Mm-hmm. But Black people, again, slave mentality. Crabs in a bucket. We picking that apart. So what? Cultural symbolism. So what? That's important. I don't know why we shit on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You said so much, and I'm gonna let that rest there because I think it's important that hit, right? I don't like to call us crabs in a barrel. I had this conversation with my husband not too long ago. I don't like to call us crabs in a barrel because I think I think it gives out the suggestion that we wanted to have been in that barrel in the first place, right? And how did we land in that barrel? I hear you. I agree with you 1000%. I do think though that we in our culture have this need, we have this savior complex. We are always looking for one person to come and save us. When Martin Luther King was doing the movement, Martin Luther King largely became what he was after he was assassinated. When he was in the middle of the movement, Black folks were doing the same exact thing to him that you're talking about with Obama. But we are always looking for the martyr, somebody, the one person who can come in and save us. And that's not what this shit is about. It's exactly what you said at the beginning of the hour. It is collectively us working together, us saying, you support me, I'm going to support you. You doing something, I'm pulling through for you. I'm going to show up for you. I'm going to promote you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to lift you up, because if I lift you up, then 5 other people can come up underneath me, and then you get the attention that you need, you get the support that you need. I know you're going to bring me up too. That's what's going to pull us out of where we are. And I don't think that we get that yet, but we also how we landed in that barrel either. That's part of the problem. And I think the mentality for sure needs work. We have largely forgotten who we are. Some of us have never even been taught or told who we are, who we really are. And that's what you're seeing too. That's what you're seeing. So I struggle with blaming the victim in some regard, because I think sometimes we can forget that we are the victim because we're acting like the aggressor and the oppressor. We can forget sometimes that we are the victim. But I completely agree with you. The cultural symbolism that was so relevant, that was necessary for even me to see. My parents divorced when I was very young. I think the symbolism of during a very hard time in my marriage, it helped me to say, okay, maybe we should stick this out. Maybe not necessarily for us, but for what comes behind us, the legacy, the kids. Um, it was relevant. It was necessary for me to see that when I did, when the Obamas were coming through. So you are so right. You know, if we are willing to tear apart all of us and say, yo, he ain't do nothing for me. No, a lot of what was done, it was constantly being thwarted by Republicans, by the Republican Congress, um, but a lot of good was done. A lot of good was done. A lot of policy was done, and we don't we I don't think we don't take stock. We don't take note of it. I am going to ask you this goddamn question about Dave Chappelle, and you're going to answer it because we have moved on in 8 different directions, 8 different times. What did you think about his commentary last month about the show and why he wants us to stop supporting it? What did you think?
About them, about I understand where he's coming from because that's from and
Wait, we lost you.
let's put it in perspective. Comedy Central was oh, you got me?
Now I do. We lost you for 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Let's put this in perspective. If Comedy Central could afford to pay him $50 million, that means they were making 4 times that. So the bottom line is break bread. And I completely understand where he was coming from. Break bread. Netflix paid Dave $60 million,
Yeah.
which means they made quadruple that. You know what I mean? They got quadruple that. And then they offered Eddie Murphy damn near $70 million for a special for one. And that's why when Eddie Murphy hosted Saturday Night Live and it was him, Chris Rock, and Dave Chappelle all up there, Dave had the funniest joke when he said, right now you're looking at Netflix whole budget. So if you break that down in terms of what they paid Chris, what they paid Eddie, what they paid Dave, that means they got money up that ass.
Yeah.
Pay me.
Yeah.
It's not personal, it's business. Pay me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm Dave 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think we should follow suit and not support when our artists ask us not to support projects that, you know, have taken advantage of them? Do you think we should follow suit and not support? I'm looking at you.
No. I'm trying to I'm trying to think about my answer. Because look, Netflix did the most gangster shit ever. They took it down.
Yeah.
So they protecting their product.
Yeah.
Dave. So they took it down, which was a surprise to me. But yes, it all goes back to the same thing. If we supported each other and we stood behind each other, we could make real change. Because I love when Dave said, I'm gonna go to my real bosses, you, meaning the audience. You know, you motherfuckers are the reason I'm where I'm at.
Yeah.
So you hold the power.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I just wish I wish more of us understood that, you know. And when I say us, I'm not just talking about entertainment. I'm talking about the consumer.
Right, for sure.
If the consumer went, we demand that such and such have a special. We demand that such and such be on TV. It would happen.
Yeah.
But again, we don't do that.
Yeah. We're gonna figure it out though. We're gonna figure it out.
I hope so.
Listen, Aries, I love you. I do. I really enjoyed this hour with you. You were only supposed to be on 30 minutes, and that you even gave me another 37 minutes of your time. I really appreciate it. But you opened up, and I think our conversation was super important. And I love what you had to say. I think it is so relevant. One of the things that I want to tell you, because I saw you, this was some years ago, not at a show. I saw you in Baltimore. We were both staying at, I think we were both staying at the same hotel. You didn't see me, uh, but you were going through something and it was clear. that you were going through something, and you were sitting outside of the hotel in Baltimore, and I wanted to tell you that whatever you were going through, that it was going to be okay. It was obvious that you were in a very bad space. And something said, walk up to him and tell him that it's gonna be all right. Whatever he's going through is going to be all right. And I didn't. And so I'm saying to you now, because I get an opportunity to interview you and see you, that for one, I love you. I appreciate your talent. I appreciate what you bring to the space of comedy. You are important. And I want you to know that you are important to this diaspora, that your art form is amazing, and that whatever you are going through, if you ever need a friend, please pick up the phone, call me.
Glad I'm not drinking right now because you'd have me in some tearful shit right now. Thank you, sweetheart. And I want to let everybody know to further hear more of this career-ending commentary of mine. Tune in to download and subscribe to my podcast. It's called Spears and Steinberg. It's available on all streaming platforms, Apple, Google Play, Amazon, Spotify, or as I always tell people, DM me in my Instagram under Aries Spears, blue verification check mark, and I'll personally send you the links. So thank you, sweetheart. Thank you for this opportunity. I love you as well. And yeah, I appreciate you.
Yeah, listen, anytime you need a friend, yo, I got you. Because
Yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah, it is.
Real
It
hard.
is. And whatever I was going through then, I'm still going through it. I just have better days than others.
Yeah.
But you know, thank you for that though.
No, I love you. And I appreciate you for doing this. I'll see
You
you
got it, baby. Anytime you need me, put the bat signal in the air. I'll meet you on the roof like Commissioner Gordon.
Bye, Aries. I'll talk to
All
you.
right, baby.
All
No
right.
doubt. All right.
That is it for us today. I have had, oh my gosh, such a wonderful discussion with Aries Spears. Great commentary, great conversation, um, great ideas, about ways that we can change and do better. And that's what this show is about. So stay tuned. This is Next Nation, the podcast. I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Mwah.